Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. As the chair said, we all examined the patient and came to the conclusion that he is dead. We all differ on what happens. Do you set up a burial committee? The majority are saying, you buy medicine, but the person is dead. And I want to go by your guidance at the beginning of this process that actually if there is non-compliance, there is even the option to reject. Mr. Speaker and honourable members, consideration of the budget framework paper is the first but most important stage in the appropriation process. It is at this stage that you interact with the set of priorities for the next financial year. Articles 154 and 155 of the Constitution assign you, Parliament, and the Executive specific roles in preparation of the country's annual budget. Under Article 154, no monies can be withdrawn from the consolidated fund except with your authority, and here I mean Parliament, which you exercise through enactment of the Appropriation Act. When you fail to appropriate in time, the President is allowed by the same article to access monies to run public affairs, but only for 4 months. And I want to emphasize, taxpayers' money can only be withdrawn with your permission. If you surrender this responsibility, please blame nobody except yourself. Article 155 instructs the President to prepare and submit to you the annual budget for approval. It also gives you authority to determine the format the President must follow in preparation. The format you set out in the Public Finance Management Act states, the Minister of Finance shall, for each financial year, prepare a budget framework paper approved by Cabinet and present it to you, here I mean Parliament. The budget framework paper, therefore, is the first draft. This is the stage where the aspirations of your people come face to face with the government priorities, and the chair has listed those aspirations. Mr. Speaker, I begin with the format. Section 9 of the Public Finance Management Act and Schedule 3 outlines the format the budget framework paper must follow. Your first task this morning is to examine whether the budget framework paper before you followed the format. Among others, the budget framework paper must be consistent with the National Development Plan and with the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility. I want to emphasize that the chair has said actually it was not consistent. But in the conclusion, the majority are saying approve. Schedule 3 of the Public Finance Management Act outlines 8 other parameters that the framework paper must meet, including projections of government expenditure in respect of each vote for the financial year and the next financial year, split into current expenditure and investment plan. This is listed as number 7 on the schedule. Let us examine the consistency of the budget framework paper with the set parameters. Part of the examination, we agreed that actually it was inconsistent. The draft budget, you may call it the budget framework paper, and therefore is supposed to finance the country's national development plan. The National Development Plan is developed by National Planning Authority under the National Planning Authority Act. The development plan is supposed to be approved by Parliament. On December 19, 2024, Minister of Finance presented to Parliament the budget framework paper together with the draft National Development Plan, which is NDP4. The following day, Honorable Musasizi was on his Twitter account celebrating this mess. That both documents came the same day. Actually, one must precede because you begin drafting a budget according to the plan, but they came together. I don't know what they were following. What a Senate government, something I cannot accuse NRM of, should have done is to present a draft plan for approval by Parliament first, and then a draft budget prepared in accordance with the plan. The development plan was approved by Parliament on January 9th, 2025, 20 days after the presentation of the budget. Not surprising that the two documents don't speak to each other. The development plan proposes 92 trillion budget for the first year of implementation, which is next financial year. The budget, as rightly captured by the majority report, proposes 57.44 trillion. Either the development plan was guesswork, or the framework paper, or both. The development plan projects 67.7 trillion in revenue correction in the first year, but the framework paper puts it at 33.681 trillion. Spending on luxury. The development plan and budget framework paper list agro-industrialization, tourism, minerals, including oil and gas, and science and technology, including ICT and creative art, which are summarized as items as top priorities. But real money is allocated to the usual useless things such as donations, workshop, travel, special meals, vehicles, furniture, etc. In this year's budget, government didn't give National Curriculum Development Center, leave alone the 12 billion, but they wanted 7 billion as a stopgap measure because you have children who are reporting next month. 7 billion was not put in the budget to prepare a curriculum for senior 5. But allocated our visionary leader, General Yoweri Museveni Tibuhaburwa, 80 billion for donation. You have no money for curriculum, the president has money for donation. To the NRM government, popularizing an 80-year-old man who has been in power for 39 years was more important than preparing a curriculum for our children. Then they speak of a development plan. Look at the money this visionary leader is spending visiting sugarcane plantations in Usoga and posing for photos as if he's at extension work. A serious leader should be launching tractors and irrigation equipment, but not visiting recipients of 1 million shilling PDM. What is troubling our people are broken road network, neglected and decaying health facilities, mismanaged and underfunded education sector. The committee has reported about Mulago Intensive Care Unit. In fact, the beds are not 27. There are beds in other units that come to a total of 40 intensive care unit beds. Only 15 are in use because of lack of staff. Please have appetite to bring this nonsense to an end. Mr. Speaker, you need to look at the allocations because usually details, as the chair said, they hide in many words as if they are in a workshop. Yet the actual locations speak about something else. Look, you have beddings, clothing, footwear, and related services as aggregated, given 132.2 billion. You have no money for curriculum, no money for intensive care. Donations in this budget that we started processing, donations is 159 billion. You have money for fuel, 355 billion. Special meals and drinks, 298 billion. Welfare and entertainment, 139 billion. This money is allocated. It's not that it's unfunded. The chair presented here unfunded. This is already funded. So this is the priority according to the NRM government. The unfunded is not a priority. Travel abroad, 53 billion. Travel inland, 783. Mind you, some of the travels, you all see government vehicles. There are people just touring their farms, and they are spending 783 billion. Workshops, meetings, and seminars, 237. Staff training, 418 billion. Books, periodicals, and newspapers, 65 billion. Buying of new vehicles, 86 billion. Maintaining transport equipment, which is repairing these vehicles of the good people running government, 131 billion. Printing, stationery, photocopying, and binding, 110 billion. Furniture and fittings, 39 billion. Consultancy, 572 billion. So you have a total of just these selected items coming to 3.5 trillion on these items. And then they have given you the unfunded priority, but they're asking you to approve. This information you can find. They are supposed to put it in the budget framework paper. They did not. They are hiding it. Please go to the Ministry of Finance website, www.budget.finance.go.ug. You will get this information. You just click an Excel download and then continue as I have indicated in this report. Because they want you to read these things without giving you the details, yet the law says they must. Unrealistic 57.441 trillion total budget. Parliament should take note that although the development plan proposes 92 trillion, even the 57.441 trillion in the budget framework paper is unrealistic, going by the recent budget performance. For the financial year 2023-2024, Parliament approved a budget of 52.7 trillion, revised it to 61.6 trillion through supplementary requests, but only 50 was released, warranted by Finance, according to Auditor General. Finance never released a total of 11.4 trillion, and the release itself was hot air because only 48.6 was available, was the actual money available. In 2022, total budget approved was 52.5 trillion. 49 was released, but actual money available for spending was 43. So the actual money mobilized for spending is still under 50 trillion. A realistic budget should therefore not exceed 50 trillion or at worst 52 because of our economic situation. If more resources become available, then you return to Parliament with a supplementary. But you don't bring here a budget of 72 trillion, yet you know at the end of the financial year you can only mobilize 48. Making a total budget look bigger like this financial year 72 trillion, I think, is for self-gratification. It is for showing off on how NRM economic miracle has transformed the country. It is also for making bigger the 3% of the total budget that the government can spend as supplementary without prior Parliament approval. Public debt. The Accountant General, in a statement which is attached to the audit report, states that public debt has increased from 97.5 trillion in June 2023 to 109 trillion June 2024. Honorable members, our country has been mortgaged. This debt represents 53% of our declared GDP of 202 trillion, which is 53.3 billion US dollar. Debt to GDP ratio is a comparison of what you are producing as a country and the money you owe other people. This huge debt is inconsistent with the stated objective outlined in the Charter of Fiscal Responsibility. The objective is to keep the debt below 50% of GDP. The debt comprises money borrowed to finance the budget, domestic area, pension, and gratuity. What should worry you is that government wants to finance the 52 trillion next financial year's budget by borrowing another 24 trillion. because it projects to raise revenue only of 33 trillion. By approving the budget framework paper, you are giving government a green light to borrow. They will be coming here, and you should expect Honorable Musasizi to continue trafficking loan requests to Parliament during the course of next financial year, and he will be reminding you, you are the one who approved the budget. Now I am bringing money to finance it. The figure of the total public debt is also contested. In calculating public debt, finance doesn't include domestic areas. They have even forced the Auditor General to do the same thing. Finance claims that public debt is at 94 trillion, rising from 86 trillion they declared last financial year. One of the tactics finance is using these days is to exclude undisbursed loans, yet we pay commitment fees on them. So they are trying to exclude many things to make the debt look smaller. Still on debt, I am looking at the vote, which is meant to be servicing debt, treasury operations. The total budget that we are approving in the budget framework paper, I want to repeat, is 57, but nearly half of it, 20 trillion, which is 35% as usual, is for debt servicing. The table below shows the breakdown of this total debt servicing. I hope the table can be flashed there. It has details here of what we will be paying. Of interest here, Mr. Speaker, you have ROCO, you have Congo, DRC. If you look at claims payment, we are still paying money to Congo because the Attorney General is here. We lost a case in the international court. This NRM government was accused of many crimes in Congo, including rape. If you want, you can go to the CJ website, including rape, including plundering gold, including timber, and many other things. And as a result, we were told to pay $325 million US, which comes to over 1.2 trillion. For you to appreciate that figure, we have just borrowed money to do roads in the Kampala metropolitan, which is just about the same figure. But at least every metropolitan, including my constituents, have some roads done. So these people who went and plundered Congo and stole gold, they should even stop them from coming here. Because this money should be, no, the report is explained. If you followed the format of the chair, I see you are restless.
Procedure. Right, Honorable Speaker, I'm trying to follow this submission of my colleague, but I don't know what page we are at, because there are some things he was saying, but I didn't see Congo, rape. I don't see rape, plunder, ICJ. I'm just requesting, are we proceeding well? Because if we want to follow the report, just keep us at the report, then we can debate.
Yes, let's listen to each other, honorable colleagues. I already had my concerns, which I wanted to share at the end, because I had, for example, some of the words used, unparliamentary. A very good example being like the word nonsense. You can hold an opinion, but there are words in Parliament, on the official record of Parliament. But now, I had wanted the chair rules to help us, because Rule 84 on parliamentary language, it limits us on debate. So, what about reports? And if on reports it's really a blank check, I think this is one of the rules we should look at, because a report will be used by researchers. It's a very, very important record that we will have. Okay? Chair rules.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. Actually, the rules talk about the parliamentary debate. And the question that arises is whether the report is part of the parliamentary debate. In my opinion, it is.
Because why I was concerned, after presentation of report, I have to open a debate. Okay? Now, how does it become part of a debate before I open a debate, before I declare a debate? So I was concerned about that. But Chair, you look at it as Chair, and you will guide. We see whether we need to expand it and have more clarity. But what is like nonsense? Then number two, colleagues, and I saw also with the Chair budget, when you're reading a report, read a report. Then you have a chance of responses and where you can explain much more. Otherwise, all that detail you wanted, it should be in a report. A report should be read verbatim so that your submission is consistent with the report when one is reading the Hansard.